So today we're doing the Shelly Lee Alley Jr. interview about Shelly Lee Alley Sr. and wanted to talk a little bit not only about the musical past of Shelly Lee Alley, which if you go to shellyleealley.com, a lot of good information about Shelly that was written by Kevin Coffey. Definitely recommend people go to that. But what we don't have is a lot of stories about Shelly Lee Alley, the personality, and wanted to start today just asking some questions about Shelly. Tell us a little bit about Shelly. Shelly?
Well, where would you like me to start?
Um, well, first of all, spring done, darn the bush.
Debushto.
Where did that come from?
Well, for some reason, Daddy had little sayings that he would make up. They didn't make any sense, but he would come up with these. So he came up with one called Spring Down Darndy Bush. If I said Spring Down Darndy Bush to you, you would have to say Debushto. If you said Spring Down Darndy Bush to me, I'd have to say Debushto. The only three that ever knew that were you and I and my brother Clyde. In fact, Clyde would call me on the phone and I'd say hello, and he'd say spring, and I'd say bush, or vice versa. So no rhyme or reason to it. He also came up with on his radio days. He came up with his name, long drawn out name that he made up, and he would say it real fast. And if anybody could say that name, they would win a prize, something like a sack of flour or something. So it went like this, and I use it. Well, I just use his name on it. He would say, "My name is Hairpin Kotar, George Old Buckingham, Bradbury, Lou House the Jacobone, Eagle on the Boblish, Buckle in the Pampa, Shelly Lee Alley." Of course, I'd have to add Junior to it. So I had to memorize that. I had to learn that verbatim, or I don't know what he'd have done to me. So, and he would make up other things like that. We would go to his home place in Ramsey, Texas, and he would wake me up in the morning to get ready to go up there. And he just, "Get ready, we're going to Ramsey AIO." I have no idea why.
So, who were some of his influences growing up?
Well, I'm sure quite a few things. He grew up in the country in Ramsey, Texas, which is 6 miles west of Eagle Lake, Texas. Highway 102 used to be Highway 90. And there's a lot of German folks around there, polka music, things that way. He was attracted to the music of the day, which was real sweet kind of music. And back then, you couldn't radio hadn't even started yet. When he was born 1894, so you'd get sheet music. So you had to learn how to read music to be able to play the sheet music. So whatever was popular in the day, understand he's born 1894, whatever it was, that's what he gravitated to. And later in his career, we can get into that a little bit about who some of his people that he copied, if you want me to now. For instance, the singer he idolized and he wanted to be like was Gene Austin. And Gene Austin was real popular in the 30s. He had hit like My Blue Heaven, a big popular wise. He was very, very big. The orchestra director he wanted to be like and really like was a guy named Paul Whiteman. And Paul Whiteman had orchestras back then, very popular. And Paul Whiteman led his orchestra. Paul Whiteman was a violin player. So I think he kind of related to being able to sing like Gene Austin or conduct an orchestra like Paul Whiteman.
So, he grew up in the country. Was he much of a country boy?
Not at all. No, he couldn't wait to get out of the country.
Yeah, I know. I think there was a write up on the paper in 1906, I think it was, in Columbus or Colorado County, that he was going to the Buffalo Bills Wild West show, I think around that time frame. So I take it he loved seeing all the different shows back then, too, huh?
Yeah, he loved entertainment. He wanted to be. He was an entertainer. Anything he did in life was entertaining. But his daddy took him to the Buffalo Bill Wild West show. That's probably the biggest thing he'd ever seen, and really knocked him out. I don't think so much all the horses and all that kind of stuff. It was just the entertainment part of it.
Mhm.
and he really wanted to be an entertainer and entertain people.
What in the family, who all were musicians or singers that probably would have maybe not influenced him, but at least played with him?
Well, his younger brother Alvin and his oldest sister Florence, everybody called Noni. Alvin played fiddle. In fact, he played twin fiddles with my dad on Jimmy Rogers' recording of Traveling Blues. But Alvin played fiddle. He played trombone, slide trombone, played a little saxophone. Florence played piano and she played some guitar. In fact, there's just a picture on that website of my dad playing fiddle, Florence in the middle playing guitar, and on her left was Alvin playing his trombone.
So when he left, I guess maybe in his teens, he went on to serve in the service in San Antonio during World War One. What was his rank? What was he doing there as a?
He came out as a corporal. He was assigned to the medical branch, but there was also music there, and he led the bass orchestra in Camp Travis.
What I guess did you ever see him do anything medical wise?
No,
No.
thank
Okay.
God, no.
Okay.
By the way, while
Probably.
he was there, he also learned to play cornet.
Yeah. And obviously, you met his first wife, Phyllis.
That's correct.
Was married to her for about 10 years, and then went on to Ramsey and a few other things we'll talk about in a little bit. Um, so, as far as the history is concerned, Shelly Alley is your dad, and then there's his dad was John Alley. There's obviously some age gaps because your dad was 50, I think, 2 or 51 when you were born, and his dad would have been in his 40s when Shelley was born. So your dad served during World War One, and your grandpa served in the Civil War.
Correct.
So that's not a lot of people can say that these days. What do you know a little about John, other than obviously he was served in World War? I mean, served in the Civil War.
Well, of course, he was born to his daddy was Abraham Alley, my great grandfather, who came to Texas with Stephen F. Austin's old 300. All I know about him was that after the Civil War, he was very, very young, the Civil War. He started a family and had a house real close to the railroad tracks. He got into business, built a new house very, very close to the railroad because that was a big deal back then. He had a cotton gin, he had a general store. All the kids worked in the general store. He was kind of a pillar of the community, so to speak. I never knew him. He died way before I was born, but knew a little bit about him. No indication he was musical or anything like that. He was just a businessman.
Now, obviously, he Shelley was born in like, back then. I guess it was Ramseyville, or what was it called back then?
Yeah, it's called
Ramsey.
several things. It was Nye, Nigh, then Ramseyville, and they finally shortened it to Ramsey. It's really not even a town. It's just a community of a few families.
And tell me about your dad's his school where they went to.
Yeah, he went to a one-room schoolhouse. They called it the Ramsey Knowledge Box. Uh, and he tells me about it that one of his best friends was a guy named Slick Duke. I don't know what his first name was. They called him Slick Duke. And they started, they got up to the third grade and always in the same room. And Daddy made it to the fourth grade and Slick failed. And he finally got all the way up to the sixth grade. And Slick was still in the third grade. And Daddy felt sorry for him, so he asked the teacher, could he go back to third grade with Slick? So Ramsey Knowledge Box was the name of it.
So I would imagine, as far as school is concerned, really the only thing that was on your dad's mind, pretty much 24/7, was music.
I absolutely, for the time I knew him for almost 19 years and everybody else that knew him, yeah, constantly he thought about music all the time. That was number one with him. If a person didn't like music, He didn't want to have much to do with them. To him, it was all about music, morning, noon, and night.